Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan are honored to partner with Proudly We Served, as well as the continued support of our local active and retired military veterans across eastern Indiana.
I'm Al Bledsoe, Veterans of War and More, Post 1108, and I'm here this morning with Rob Napier, who is the Quartermaster for the VFW. So I'm going to let Rob introduce himself and just give us a little, here's what I do.
Thank you, Al.
Thanks.
The VFW, I guess the way we've approached it in recent years is we truly try to partner up
Sure.
with the community. We want to keep our children and everything in the forefront of our mind. If
Sure.
it's if we prioritize it, I would say that veterans, children, and then probably community.
Sure.
So we're just very fortunate that we have the ability to help.
Well, I think it's fair to say, and I think, I've been a member now for 12 years or so. Mm-hmm. And I know the VFW, when I first joined, I thought, well, maybe it's like everybody says, but when you really get on the inside and you go to meetings and you really look at what the VFW really does in the community, that's something that's just, the rest of the story needs to be told, because I've always said the VFW is out front when it comes to community giving. We support so many different projects, but we don't really look for that recognition. I think maybe that's the veteran in us, though.
Probably
we kind of pull that back a little bit, And you, with running the money end of it, that's part of the quartermaster's job.
Right.
So you know more than anybody how much money is given away in this community.
Yes.
So if you want to speak to that just a little bit of how we go about procedure and things like that.
Well, typically they are solicited donations. Somebody will send in a letter requesting a donation and what the event is for, the date of when it's to happen.
Sure.
We've done a lot with the Richmond Parks Department. We've donated a lot. There's a tremendous fund called the Blue Angel Fund for the Richmond Police Department, and they actually, it's a fund that's managed by a lieutenant on the police department. And if there's a need, a really immediate need for someone, someone doesn't have a bed or someone doesn't have food to feed their kids, they'll take a debit card that's ran out of the Richmond City Employees Credit Union, and they'll just go out and buy it.
Yeah.
We're a tremendous supporter of that. We've really tried, I know we've paid for 7 or 8 canine.
At least.
At least, and I think it's like 6 different agencies.
Yeah.
We've done a couple with the Richmond Police Department. We most recently bought one for the
Wayne County
Sheriff's Department, Hagerstown Police Department, Fountain City Police Department. We've really tried to see the need.
Sure.
So it's hard. We've also kind of partnered up with the Parks Department. There are, sadly, there's always going to be a bad element in certain situations. There was a need to post a police officer at the city swimming pool at the municipal, and they weren't sure what they were going to do. We approached the Richmond Police Department and said, well, we'll pay overtime. We'll pay the overtime for any officer that'd be willing to work it. And it has just went tremendously. Jim Dykes, Denise Retz, they always call us with ideas.
Sure.
Getting ready to post 65 actually is, they're in the middle of really getting the details nailed down on the 4th of July fireworks.
Sure.
So it's overwhelming,
Yeah.
You know, and I wish we could do more.
Yeah.
You know, there's always, we don't like to say no much.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think the biggest thing with me that really, as myself, but it helped so many people, was when the VFW had agreed to help with the food pantry.
Oh, absolutely.
Boy, that was, for the ones of us that are involved in that, that was really, we talk about that all the time, that how in the world could we be so fortunate as the food pantry to be supported by the veterans of foreign war.
Sure.
And it's really amazing, and you know, when it come in a time when we was coming out of the COVID stuff, where we was trying to get the pantry off, we didn't have the money to do it. They'd give us some money, and then when they had committed to the 1108 each month,
Sure.
that was certainly easy. So then when we started going to Gleaners and Midwest through Circle U
Sure.
to find the food, why, it was an idea that we had the money now. Now we have to do the food.
Right.
So now that's becoming more tasking. So now it's not monetary that we've asked the VFW for support, and now it's become a thing of, can we deliver now? It's up to
Right.
us to deliver. And right now we're doing 96 boxes to 102 every month. And those are what I call carded boxes. Those are boxes that the guy, they have to show their identification that they are a veteran. We don't give it to everybody.
Sure.
And so that's, you know, as well as, you know, when that first came up about the carded business, I thought that was nuts. But that's where your job's important, is to throw interference if you have to have something done to procedure.
Yeah.
That's all worked itself out to be really a good thing. And it's self-cleaning. It gets rid of the people that shouldn't be there unless they're a veteran.
Right.
And we have so much need in our community for people. And that's where I think the VFW's high point is. And I think under your leadership as the quartermaster, I think that's been a big effort in the community to push out as much as we can.
Thank you.
And I think that you've done a good job at that, and that's what we got to do. That's what the VFW is about. You know,
Right.
our heritage is these guys running around out here that
And,
we're trying to support. You know,
Right.
so
Well, I do believe that there's an implied thing. I mean, I can remember my grandfather, who was a World War II veteran.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Vietnam guys were coming up.
Yeah.
And, you know, you always wanted to take care of those guys as they
Yeah.
got older and help them with whatever you
Yeah.
could. Well, now it's our turn to kind of help the Vietnam veterans.
Yeah.
You know, us Gulf War guys were coming up through the ranks
Yeah.
now. And it's just a tremendous thing when you can get, you know, all these guys, especially these men at the VFW and ladies,
Yeah.
that they can just put down their differences and say, you know what, this is a good thing, let's get behind it. What do we need?
exactly.
If it's manpower or money or a facility,
Yeah.
when Corporal Wiesenhunt was brought home, I mean, we sponsored
Yeah.
the dinner, we provided escort, there was a lot involved there, and it just still didn't seem like we could have done more.
Yeah.
You know, it was a great thing.
Yeah, it's good to see. I know a couple of people that have passed that were VFW members, where they had kind of a dinner after the funeral and everything.
Sure.
And that was all on the VFW.
Yep.
That was not done by the family. That was on the VFW. So those are things that are done in the community that nobody really sees. The swimming pool, when we got involved in that episode a couple of years back, where he tried to fix all of that stuff that was wrong. I mean, it took some of that's not talking points; it's hard cash.
Right.
So
Yeah, sometimes that's who
sometimes
does
you
the
just
talking.
got to do that. So,
Right.
and that's what the good part of it is, and that's from my standpoint, that's what I've seen over the years, is the VFW contributing and out in the community a lot.
Sure. Sure. We
So-
we do our best. We do our best. that
Oh,
we
I think so.
possibly
I
can.
think we do a good job. I think we have to overcome this thing of the VFW and the stigmatism that it has had maybe before. You know, it's a new generation. It's like you said, my generation, Vietnam guys, our
Right.
generation is just coming to an end, I think. And it's up to the Gulf War guys.
Right.
We were just talking about this coming out here. The young guys,
Mm-hmm.
getting these guys that are 25 to 30 when they get out,
Right.
somewhere we lose that connection.
We do, and some of it we understand. There are situations where, and when I was younger, I've been a member since 2004. And I remember coming up, and I was 35, 36 years old when I joined the VFW. And it wasn't so much that I didn't want to get in and get involved, but when you have work and child sports and meetings
Yeah.
and baseball and cheerleading, there's a lot of things that can run interference there.
Exactly.
But we're always here.
Yeah.
We're always here.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great thing. It's a partnership. We're still learning off the Vietnam veterans that you guys have, you know, really left the club in a very fortunate situation where we've learned a lot. You know, we've probably made some mistakes, but you know, you guys are right there with us saying, well, we're not going to concentrate on the blame. We're going to move forward. We're going to make this happen. And that's the message we want to convey.
I think when we all come together as a group and get things done,
Right.
when the police officer was shot,
Sierra Burton. Yes.
when the VFW was right there with everything that they possibly could do. Cronin kind of got involved in that as much as we could, was down with the policemen when we bought their lunch one day. But things like that are things that you have to make a mark with. But the thing that concerns me sometimes is we tend to forget. We forget, you know, and that's why, and I'm going to go back to the food pantry again because I'm real bad about that.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly telling people, when I go through that food line and giving out boxes of food, and by the way, we give out about a $56 to $60 box of food. We don't give out a small box of food.
Right.
So these people are all the time saying they appreciate all of that, and I said, if you appreciate it, call the VFW.
Right.
They're a big instrument in making all of this happen, and if it wasn't for them, we could not make it happen. So things like that, but we just got to keep saying it. It's like nobody hears that, and we just got to keep repeating it. So I repeat it every time I get a chance, and people that are around me know that I bring that up all the time, that the VFW has been good to support that. That's the kind of information we need to get out in the community, though.
Yeah, I agree.
The Parks Department. And I'm just bringing up some of the things I remember about the Parks Department doing stuff that nobody else would even think about doing.
Right.
For me, what was a big deal was when Randy Redder brought the dog in.
Yes. Yes.
$6,800 or something like that.
Yes.
And the VFW took the biggest chunk of
Chunk
that.
out of
There
it,
was just a
yes.
little bit left over, and then said, well,
right.
if you don't find the rest of it, come back and we'll give you the rest of it.
of
But I thought, here's a dog, and 50 men are sitting around,
Yeah.
you know, wondering, you know, if we can support that animal or not. But I thought that was really neat to do something like
You
that.
know, and that's part of being a veteran is, you know, you focus on the mission at hand.
Sure.
You know, it's a great thing. We also have a somewhat centralized operation through the Veteran Service Office.
Yeah.
Ron Weedick and Buddy Strunk down
Right.
there, they don't hesitate to call us if we need a veteran
Exactly.
to coordinate things, and they have a budget. So, you know, our thing is to never turn a veteran away.
Yeah.
You know, you know, if a hungry vet is hungry, we're going to feed him.
Yeah.
If he's cold, we're going to get him a warm bed.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing that ever since I can remember, and I don't ever intend to stop doing that.
Yeah.
You know, if
Well, I think
veterans
that's good to adapt that kind of
Yes.
philosophy because, you know, people don't understand sometimes who cares until they need, when they need help. Then that's when they can really, that's where I think the VFW survives, is they're willing to step in the middle and provide the necessary help or food or whatever they need. And it's almost incredible to see the amount that goes on behind the scenes. Recently, we just completed Memorial Day services. The VFW is behind a lot of that stuff. They provide a free dinner afterwards, for crying out loud. I don't know how many people we ended up and fed.
About 94.
Yeah, but that's doing things that most people don't even think about.
We never even, we didn't think about it twice. We said, yes, we're going to do it.
Just we're going to do it, sure. And the thing of it is, with all of this stuff that goes on behind the scenes that you see veterans involved in, I think it's also fair to say that we're kind of almost, sometimes I feel like we're a dying community, that nobody's paying attention. And being a veteran is old business. And the hardest thing to convey to the young guy is you've got to get involved. You know, we were talking about this, that the young person's got to get involved, and they can't just make, they can't just say they want to get involved unless you jump in the middle of it. That's why I told one of them very recently, the way to get involved is jump in the middle of it. And once you get kicked around a little bit, maybe you'll know what your niche is, and then you can find it, because we need these 25, 30, 35-year-old guys to join the clubs and just really be a proponent of that.
So. Oh, I agree with that 100%. You know, I think, you know, it's not that, you know, the Vietnam guys do a wonderful job, but, you know, whenever you get in that next lowest age group, it's more about not better ideas, but younger ideas. And, you know, you see things that the community needs, and you say, you know what, it'd be nice to get behind that. Most recently, the VFW in Richmond, Indiana, won the state award for community service.
That's a big deal.
For the thing between community service in the nursing homes and in the schools, it has just been overwhelming. And we probably could have got that award every year. We just weren't documenting it, because we don't care about that. We just want to get the job done. So it was, we finally started documenting it, and we won the State Commander's Award for it. Out of all the VFWs, there's, I believe there's 188 VFWs in the state of Indiana. Most of those, a big chunk of that is in Chicago, up around the Chicago area. But we still, we saw a need, and we did it. We didn't care about the recognition. We just saw the need and did it. And leadership, that's what it's truly about.
There was a guy that called me, and I can't call his name right now. He's going to actually come over. VVA meets the third Thursday of the month. So he's going to come over then, and he is the president of VVA for the state of Indiana. And he was concerned about, like, as VVA, we don't do near what the VFW does. But we make enough noise that they want to come and see what we're doing. And I'm going to go back to the food pantry again. He'd heard about this massive food pantry, and I said, well, it's not massive, but it's just, I said, it's about 10 or 12 guys that got their mind together and said, we can do that. And I said, most of them are our generation. So when we make up our mind we're going to do that, we're going to do it. So I guess I had to bring that back up again about the food pantry, because he had brought it up in a conversation of how do you do that? And I said, we just do it, man. I don't know how we do it. I don't know what motivates people to do it. So, but with the VFW, I think the big thing that we want to really do is to remember what the V really does in the community, and how much they're involved in the community. I mean, just I can't say enough about that. The Parks Department, I guess, would be one of our main things, but there are certain key things that we've done at the Parks Department with that swimming pool business, especially.
Well, and I think the thing that you might be missing there, Al, what I think is just a phenomenal feat is the time in which you give out the 96 boxes or the 102 boxes.
Yeah.
Usually it's all wrapped up just right about an hour.
Yeah.
And that is tremendous when you take
Yeah.
12 guys and you hand out 90
Yeah.
to 102 boxes in an hour.
Yeah.
There's been times I was going to go down and help.
Yeah.
By the time I got down there, you guys were done.
Yeah.
And it's just really tremendous.
It's
how you
just a
guys-
well-oiled machine. You know,
Very well.
It's crazy because they were worried about the traffic flow on J Street, and I said we'll take care of ourselves. So it turned out that our flow was better than they had on the street anyway, so it didn't really make any difference. So, but we were, and one of the officers that said, "Boy, you guys were flat getting it done," and I said, I'm telling you, it's like a well-oiled machine. I said, if everybody's there, we can flat get it done, and we're writing down names, and just, it's just really, and I can't say enough about that, because for a person, that did a lot for me, to know that I had the VFW behind me with this
100%.
project, if you want to call it that. So.
Correct. You know, the other thing, too, that I think some people miss is the VFW Auxiliary actually does step up a lot in the community as well.
Correct, yeah.
We have a Buddy Poppy program that they take that on every year. They do a wonderful job with it, and it's just very fortunate we have the people. I think there's more auxiliary members than there are members of our post.
Sure.
You know? It's just a tremendous thing that all these sort resources that we have, you know, some places don't have that.
Yeah.
And we have the ability just to cut through all the bureaucracy, and we say we're going to do it. We're just going to do it.
Sure. The auxiliary members, that's interesting that you had brought that up, because our auxiliary does do a lot with, they have different events that they plan, and they do. They go to the nursing home. Sure. Every month, I believe, and give out things that patients in the nursing home would need. The VFW, tell me about what it takes to join as an auxiliary member.
Okay.
There's a new protocol there.
There's a new process for that. If the person that they are wanting to join under, it has to be, they wouldn't necessarily have to be a member, but they would have to be eligible to be a member. I would have been eligible if I didn't serve. I could have joined the auxiliary under my father, who was a Vietnam veteran.
Okay.
And it has to be, I believe it has to be immediate family, a father, a brother, sister.
So it has to be a true bloodline.
True bloodline there,
Yeah.
and it's what basically adds to our legacy for it.
Sure.
You know, so there is, or you can, like, your wife would be eligible.
Yeah.
If I were married, you know, my wife would be eligible. My daughter's actually a member. I haven't got my son signed up yet, but, you know, I'm going to get him signed up.
Boy,
too.
that's good.
So there's a lot of things that just.
And that's another avenue for younger people to get involved.
Sure.
Because the auxiliary at our place is pretty active too.
Very active.
I mean, with
Very
what
active.
they do, I mean,
Sure.
I think Jim Hankins and his wife kind
Kathy,
of headed
yes.
that. Yeah, Kathy have headed that
Yes,
up.
they. We've got a car show coming up July 4th, and they are just fabulous with how they handle everything and how they just make everything happen.
Sure.
There's another auxiliary member that he's tremendous at it. Doug Mathena does a great job going out getting sponsorships. This year in particular is going to be a very busy summer for us. We have the state VFW golf tournament here in August.
Yeah.
You know, we've got this month officially makes our 100-year anniversary.
Yeah,
in
that's something else I was
Wayne
going to.
County.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
That it's 100 years the VFW's been in Richmond. Wow.
Right. And one of the founding, what is really great about that, one of the founding members is he was a founding member. He was a World War I veteran, and he was a practicing attorney here in Richmond. and his name was Frank Strayer, and he is buried or entombed out in Earlham.
Earlham Cemetery.
And he was actually the one that petitioned the national government to make the Star-Spangled Banner our national anthem, and that started right here in Richmond.
Wow.
So
That's an
there's a
amazing
lot
story.
of veteran
I didn't
history.
know that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot
that's
of
an
veteran
amazing
history
story.
here. A lot of veteran history.
Okay, so we're going to have to come to an end of what we're talking about. So why don't you give us just a statement or so about the VFW, and we'll start to close out this thing.
Well, if I had to give us just one statement, I would probably say something fairly close to, no one does more for veterans, and no one wants better for his community than a VFW member. You know, we all at a very young age, where we probably didn't understand what we were doing, we all swore an oath. We kept that oath, and we're keeping it to this day. We're still serving.
Sure.
So it's veterans helping veterans is the thing that I like to do.
Yeah.
Personally.
Today we've had as our guest Rob Napier with Veterans of Foreign War, Post 1108. He is the Quartermaster, and this has been a pretty good informative meeting, and I want to thank Rob for taking the time out of his day to come in and spend a half hour with us. So with that, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Al.
Oh, I forgot. Hold it. Ron Chappelle is not with me today, and I forgot to bring that up at the front end of it. He's been in the hospital, and I talked to him yesterday, and I think things are progressing, and he should be showing his face around here next month. So I meant to bring that up at the front. So.
Well, I have a good thought for him.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cronin Toyota and Cronin Nissan are honored to partner with Proudly We Served, as well as the continued support of our local active and retired military veterans across eastern Indiana.